It has only been 3 years since the peak era of the no-fly zone in the Mile High City. While 3 years is a relatively small amount of time in reality, the high level of defensive back talent the Denver Broncos and their fans had become accustomed to had waned and left many wanting over the past few seasons. The NFL, aka not for long, may be a classic cliche, but it is one for a reason. The landscape of the league changes quickly as players age, get injured, and fall off, and teams must constantly reshape their roster and reinvent themselves in an ever-evolving competitive league that is the National Football League. The likes of Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr., Bradley Roby, Darian Stewart, and T.J. Ward made up the no-fly zone in its heyday and, coupled with a deep and dangerous rotation of pass rushers, helped the Broncos achieve the highest mantle of a Super Bowl victory during the 2015 season. However, today only Harris remains on the roster as the others have either fallen off the league's landscape or been let go to chase other opportunities in the league. It would have been nearly impossible to keep that level of talent together considering all the factors that go into building a roster. From salary cap management, declining abilities due to age and injury, and the needed reshaping of the team, the no-fly zone fell off and had yet to be replaced. However, with the new offseason brings new hope. After a declining last few seasons on the defensive back end, GM John Elway and the Broncos attacked the secondary with fervor. With their first official signing of the offseason, the Broncos inked defensive back Kareem Jackson to a 3-year, $33 million contract, which was essentially a 2-year deal with minimal dead cap if the Broncos opt out after the 2020 season. Jackson, who had arguably one of the best seasons of any defensive back last season for the Houston Texans, brings physicality, zone coverage skills, and flexibility to the Broncos' defense. While an older player at 31 years old, Jackson's play hasn't shown any signs of slowing down yet. Perhaps a bigger cue by Elway this offseason was obtaining nickelback Bryce Callahan. Shocking to many that the upper-level slot corner was still available after the first wave of free agency, although with some injury concern, Elway was able to sign the 27-year-old to a 3-year, $21 million contract, although like Jackson's deal, the contract is essentially a 2-year proposition with a team option after the 2020 season and limited dead cap penalty to releasing Callahan. Bryce Callahan signs. With the drastic increase of 11 personnel, 3 WR sets, in the NFL over the past few seasons, the once lesser position of slot corner is becoming more and more valued, while the likes of 2-down linebackers and run-stuffing defensive tackles have lost value. In Chicago last year, we saw over 80% that we went against 3 wide receivers or more, head coach Vic Fangio said on Tuesday at the NFL head coach's breakfast. 80% of our plays, there were 3 wide receivers or more on the field. That's not counting the 2 tight end packages where one of them is really a receiver. The Broncos were also linked with a number of safeties as well during the early waves of free agency, but in the end the signings of the versatile Kareem Jackson and Bryce Callahan will have to do in refortifying the defensive backfield in Denver. With Chris Harris Jr. and Isaac Yiadom already on the roster for cornerback and Justin Simmons, Will Parks, and a number of other safeties chomping at the bit to compete and find a role on the defense, there is no doubt that the secondary is once again ascending towards the level of the no-fly zone of just a few seasons ago. But are the Broncos finished adding to their secondary? Probably not. One thing that makes the Broncos' defensive backfield unique heading into the NFL draft is the positional versatility that Kareem Jackson offers. While he was signed to be a boundary corner opposite of Chris Harris Jr. on many plays, Jackson's ability to be moved around opens up options not only on game day but heading into the draft. At the coaches' meetings, Jackson's former head coach Bill O'Brien discussed Kareem's multiplicity as a versatile player, as he played corner, he played nickel, he played safety, and he played dime. This versatility is valuable, much like how the Philadelphia Eagles have used defensive back chess piece extraordinaire Malcolm Jenkins. The NFL draft is around the corner and soon the Broncos will be on the clock. Don't miss out on any news and analysis. Take a second to sign up for our free Broncos newsletter, delivered 3 times daily. The Broncos could be perfectly fine heading into the season not touching their defensive backfield in the draft, but considering the fact that Chris Harris Jr. is set to hit free agency next year, as well as both current projected starters at safety and Justin Simmons and Will Parks, defensive backfield is a place the Broncos should be open to dependent on how the board falls. While there isn't a defensive back the quality of a top 10 pick this year, options open up dramatically day 2. With potential sliders linked to Denver at the Combine and Georgia's DeAndre Baker and Washington's Byron Murphy, to the length and upside corners of Penn State's Amani Oruwariye, Michigan State's Justin Lane, Temple's Rock Ya-Sin, Kentucky's Lonnie Johnson Jr., and Clemson's Trayvon Mullen, Denver may consider a longer boundary corner to complement the under 6-foot corners currently listed on the depth chart and to compete with Yiadom, pushing Jackson to more snaps at safety with Justin Simmons. However, this is by most accounts a rather weak cornerback class. While there are many upside and developmental prospects, the day 1 upside of corner in this class seems limited. The same cannot be said for the safety position. While the likelihood of seeing safeties at the top of class the caliber of Jamal Adams, Malik Hooker, Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Derwin James won't happen in the 2019 draft, the safety position does appear to have a good bit of talent in rounds 2 and 3. Jonathan Abram, Nasir Adderley, Taylor Rapp, Deontay Thompson, Darnell Savage Jr., Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and Amani Hooker all could be options for the Broncos day 2 and offer immediate depth and competition for the safety position. Further indicating the Broncos' potential interest in an early safety, Vic Fangio's own comments at the owners' meetings where he singled out Justin Simmons as a player he was excited about but indicated that the other safety position was up for grabs despite many penciling in Will Parks for the position. The Broncos have a multitude of needs on the roster for the long term, but after a solid free agency period, the immediate needs seem slim and less dire than one would have thought possible following the first back-to-back losing seasons in Denver since the early 1970s. Nailing free agency is Elway has, the Broncos can afford to sit back and let the draft fall to them. The team is in no position to be picky, but instead should be looking to add the best talent whenever possible. Given the positional flexibility of Kareem Jackson, the looming free agency of Chris Harris Jr., and the safeties after next season, and Fangio's comments about the defensive backfield, perhaps Elway isn't done addressing the defensive backfield just yet. The era of the no-fly zone may have come and gone, but a new era of defensive backfield rule may be just around the corner. Given that Patrick Mahomes will be in the division for years to come, perhaps reloading the defensive backfield isn't the worst direction to go to recapture relevance in the AFC West.